I'm Boum, creator of Boumeries, and you're listening to True North Country Comics podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. If you want to drop me a line, you can contact me at john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. On this episode, I chat with Boum about Boumeries and more at the 2022 Montreal Comic Arts Festival. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. It's also available on the True North Country Comics channel on YouTube. I invite you to like and subscribe. Boum is a cartoonist living in Montreal. She is mostly known for her journal comic Boumeries. Boum also wrote A Small Revolution for Front Fouad 2012 and 2021 and Soaring Press in 2017, and Noisy Matinée et Oti Petit Bonheur for La Pastique in 2019. She's currently working on a book titled La Méduse, the Jellyfish, which will be published by Édition Pow Pow. Boumeries is a journal webcomic that ran from 2011 to 2020. It's been collected in 10 self-published volumes and is now published as an omnibus by Glenette Quebec. Boumeries has won and been a finalist in several awards, including Bedelis, Doug Wright, Joe Shuster, and Exposine. And so, without further ado, here's my chat with Boum about Boumeries and more at the 2022 Montreal Comic Arts Festival. So, Boum, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
My pleasure to be here again.
Yeah, this is great. Before we get started, though, want to ask you, what's on your bedside reading table? What are you reading today?
I have nothing on my bedside table right now. I have pre-ordered a book in February, which is Voleuse by Lucie Brion. I know it's coming out in English, I think, in this fall. So it's Thief, and it's, I think, published by Nobrow. It's due this fall in English, but I bought the French version, and it just came out in Quebec like yesterday. I got a call from my bookstore, my comic shop, that I could pick it up, and I haven't had the chance to go. So I've been wanting to read that one since February, so I guess that would be on my bedside table. It's got some raving reviews, so I'm quite excited to get to read it.
That'd be nice. Yeah, lots of anticipation for that, so I'm glad. We're here talking about the Montreal Comic Arts Festival. I understand you're an exhibitor this year at the event, so I'm wondering, do you have any past convention or festival moments that you can share? Any favorite ones?
I think TCAF has some of my favorite memories just because it feels like my whole Twitter feed is there somehow. It's like everybody I've been following for years because I like their work. So Twitter makes it easier for me to interact with some people that I don't know personally. Just tweet at them something like, I like your work, and sometimes they reply, and then you're super starstruck or something. But then you go to TCAF and they're there. And yeah, I've been to some parties and met some people that are really, really well known in the comic field, and I felt like a total, imposter syndrome being there. Like, what am I doing there? Do I deserve to be there with them? What else can I say? Oh, I went to Small Press Expo.
Okay.
I think in 2019, so right before the pandemic. And I got to meet a bunch of people and went to have dinner with, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name because I'm a francophone, obviously, but Raina Telgemeier.
Oh, yeah, Raina Telgemeier. Wow.
Telgemeier, okay.
That's pretty cool.
So I had dinner with her, with Lucy Knisley, Danielle Corsetto, Andy Runton. And so there are a bunch of really well-known cartoonists, and I was there.
Nice.
And they all knew my work.
There you go.
It felt amazing to go there. It's just meeting my peers, meeting my fans and readers is also very nice. But I didn't have a lot of them in SPX because it was the United States, and I guess I don't have a huge readership in that part of the United States, I suppose. But meeting my peers was the highlight of the weekend for me that one time.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for sure, for sure. You've been to MCAF before. I've actually seen pictures of you there doing interviews. But for someone who's not been there before, how would you describe the Montreal Comic Arts Festival?
I've actually been every year since it started in 2012, I think. It's outdoors. It used to be in Parc La Fontaine, so it's a huge park, and are like tents, so you're sheltered from the rain and the sun. It could get pretty hot because it's in May, but it could get pretty cold too because it's in May. You never know. This year is very different though because they have actually changed. Venue. It's not in the park anymore. It's actually on the street. So they're blocking a whole section of a busy plateau. That's the district, a busy street, so that no cars are allowed. So it's just the festival, and it's about, I think, a 15-minute walk from start to end, which sounds like a huge strip. It should be awesome. I'm really, really excited about it, and we haven't had an in-person event, since you know what.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Everybody is super thrilled about going. It's very busy, usually, rain or shine. You're going to have lineups, even if temperature is not ideal. It's my busiest event for sure. It's local, so of course it's not as expensive for me because I live in Montreal. It's also my best-selling event of all time every year that I could go, like prior to 2020. That's sometimes I can't eat. Like, I'm so busy and I have lineups in front of me that I forget I don't have time to eat.
Oh no.
But it's a good thing. Like, right. I would keep doing this for more than 3 days, but it's a 3-day event. It's a lovely, lovely event, and it's growing every year. It's going bilingual. It's been trying the bilingual route for a few years now. They're still trying to get it right because I don't think it's easy to have a bilingual event and please everybody, but they're getting there.
Good.
And yeah, they're getting more and more international guests and people who are driving from like Eastern United States or Western or Eastern Canada, and I love MCAF. Have you ever been?
I've never. This will be my first, so this will be a unique opportunity for sure. Yeah. So
it's a good one.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Now, speaking of your exhibition there, I'm wondering if you could talk about what you'll be showcasing at this year's festival.
I'll have my usual self-published Boumeries books that I have self-printed, self-published. I don't have the first 3 volumes anymore because they're out of print, but I have volumes 4 to 10. Volume 10 I released in 2020, so I didn't have it at that year's MCAF because there was only a virtual MCAF. Right. So that's going to be a new thing. I also had a Boumeries omnibus published by Glénat Québec, and it's actually 2 books, so 2 really big hardcover versions of Boumeries, the French version, though.
Will you have that for sale?
I will.
Oh my! Someone's going to need a wagon to take those away.
They're pretty big. They're really nice looking. I'm really happy with how they turned out. It's not complete. It's half the omnibus. The other half, the publisher is not sure if they want to publish it anymore because they think it doesn't. They're saying it doesn't sell well, and I want to see if sales pick up in 2022. So I'm crossing my fingers that Volume 3 is going to happen at some point. But yeah, so these also came out during the pandemic. I will also have, for the first time at MCAF, a book that I made in 2019 that is called Nausées matinales et autres petits bonheurs, which is Morning Sickness and Other Small Joys, which is a book about pregnancy. This book came out late 2019, and I only could do 1 book fair with it, and then the pandemic hit.
Oh, yeah.
And so I didn't have it at MCAF. So that's also going to be my first time having this book at this event.
Nice.
So for people who only go to this event, I'm going to have 4 new books.
Wow.
that they have never seen.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have like stickers and a few buttons and magnets, that kind of thing that I have usually. But I
Cool,
think
cool.
having 4 books that I haven't had at MCAF before is, a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Now, for those not familiar with Boumeries, can you talk about the story and what inspired you to create it?
Yeah, Boumeries is a journal comic that I started in 2011. It was a chance thing. It was supposed to be a one-day thing where some of my friends had registered to participate in Hourly Comic Day, which is an event on February 1st every year where cartoonists around the world tell how their day is going by making one comic every hour. So I did that, and at the end of the day, I was done. I was like, well, that was fun. And I was a traditional animator back then. I was or a storyboard artist, that kind of thing. And I put those on the web, and the response I got was very, very positive. People were like, well, you found something that works for you. This is really funny, and we want more. So I decided to turn it into a webcomic for a time, and that lasted 9 years. So for 9 years, I made about 3 comic strips every week, all true stories, dreams, trips, childhood memories, life with my husband. And then along the way, we had 2 kids. So
Right.
I talked about pregnancy and parenthood and motherhood and that kind of thing. And then I ended Boumeries in 2020 because I wanted my children to have a life outside of the comic, because the comic kind of blew up more than I thought it would, to a point where my children would get recognized.
Oh.
Like when they're playing at the park, people would be like,
Mhm.
"Are you Boom's family?" Yeah. I mean, I'm impressed that this happened, and also freaked out somehow.
Yeah.
And then, some other reason. I self-published 10 books, and I thought that
Mhm.
was a nice
Right.
round number.
Sure.
I knew I wanted to have an omnibus at some point, and to do that, I had to stop doing it.
Mhm.
And I also wanted to move on to other comic projects.
Right. I want to switch gears a little bit here and talk about the tools you use to create your art. I wonder if you could walk me through your creative process.
I have used different tools for every book that I have made. So that's a bit of a hard question. I used to have some paper stage at some point. Boumeries was all penciled, inked on paper, then scanned, then the shading and the lettering I would redo by hand in Photoshop. A Small Revolution was penciled on paper on like really ordinary computer paper. Like I didn't need to have fancy paper, just the first thing I had handy. So it was penciled on paper and inked in Photoshop, which was awful. I am not doing this again. And then Nos Matinal was completely analog except for the text, which I had a font made out of my handwriting, which was expensive, but it was a
Mm-hmm.
good investment because now I'm saving a lot of time. Because
Ah.
A Small Revolution, I hand lettered, and
Ooh.
people were like, "Oh, you have such a nice font." And it's like, well, it's my handwriting actually, but since everybody thought it was a font, I was like, well, I might as well make one.
Sure.
Where was I? Yeah, so Nos Matinal it's actually watercolor on Bristol, and that took some time, but it's the only book I have made so far that has cool looking originals that I can, exhibit or sell. I mean, I can sell Boumeries, but they're not nice. They're, it's fun. It's a gimmick thing, but they don't look nice. You don't frame them and put them
Right,
on
right.
your
Mm-hmm.
wall. But currently, the book I'm working on right now is entirely digital. So
Ah.
it's penciled on the iPad in Procreate. And then I bring it into the computer to ink it because I'm not comfortable with Procreate to ink. It might just be because I haven't found like the brush that makes me happy with, because my inking, I don't think inking is what I do best. So I found something that's comfortable for me in Clip Studio Paint on the computer. I know
Okay.
Clip Studio exists on the iPad, but
Hmm.
it was a time sensitive issue, and I had my computer and was just like, I'll just ink it on the computer for now, and I'll experiment with this later.
Right, right. Well, that makes sense. Sure. Time is of the essence. Yes.
Yeah. And then I bring it back into the iPad for the shading because I have like these really neat watercolor brushes that look like the real thing.
Very good. So it sounds a mixture of things, digital
Yeah.
of different types of platforms, and the end result is completely unique. So there you go.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Yes, very good. Now, you've talked about the omnibus of Boumeries, and you're sort of taking a break from that. I'm wondering, do you have any other up-and-coming projects that you can talk about?
Yeah, well, the one that's completely digital is
Hmm.
it's called the Jellyfish, La Méduse, because it's coming out in French first since I'm
Hmm. Hmm.
francophone. So it's going to be published by Édition Pau Pau, which has an
Oh,
English
yes.
French.
Hmm.
Yeah, so hopefully this fall, but I don't know if I'll be able to finish on time because I largely underestimated the time it took me to ink and shade every page. I thought it would be like, oh, inking is going to take me 1 hour a page, but it's more like 3 or 4 sometimes.
Ah. Hmm. Hmm.
So these days I do about 1 page a day, and I still have like 130 pages to go.
Okay,
And
so you got your work cut out for you.
yeah, but I'm having a blast.
Good,
It's
good.
the most fun I've had in a long time. Not that I didn't enjoy making boomeries, but it had become sort of second nature. And
Hmm.
these are kind of like quick cartoons that you kind of doodle and then it's good enough. This comic is kicking my butt because it's much more. I don't want to say realistic because the main character still has dots for eyes, but there it's more in the style of A Small Revolution, so more like normal proportions and backgrounds and things like that. And it's a fiction, but it's inspired by, how can I say, I basically gave a bunch of my health issues to a fictional character and made a
Ah,
story out of it
sure.
based on my life
Hmm.
without being, you know, autobiographical.
Right, right. Well, something to look forward to for sure. We were talking about the Montreal Comic Arts Festival, and I'm wondering, do you have any plans to attend any other events or festivals later this year?
Yes, I am going to TCAF. I am not tabling for once. I'm going as a tourist. I was on the wait list for the
Hmm.
table, and then I decided to go anyway and not wait because, hotels would be booked and I
Hmm.
didn't want to wait. So I booked for just 2 days with a friend. And then I got an email from TCAF being like, wait, so you have a table now. And I declined because I was
Oh.
like, well, now I have plans to take my time at every
Hmm.
table and
Yes.
enjoy the. I haven't enjoyed TCAF in so long, like, not because it's not fun, but I get, you're stuck behind a table for the whole weekend.
Sure.
You can't go to any of the programming and you're exhausted. And I was looking forward to just discovering what everyone had to show. And I don't know, I just want to have fun this year. So I'll be there. I'll bring a few books. So if people are like, "Oh, are you Boom? Do you have?" I'm gonna have some copies with me, but
Great.
not a lot. I am trying to go to Otakuthon, which is the anime convention in
Hmm.
Montreal. Registration isn't open yet, so I'll see. Usually I get in. That's in August. I'm also at the Festival BD de Prévost, which is a comics festival in the Laurentians, just about 1 hour north of Montreal, which is a really neat family-oriented comics festival for which I did the poster
Oh,
this year.
great. That's terrific.
I'm going there. It's a really it's smaller on the smaller scale than MCAF, but it's different, but it's very very cool. It's also
Nice.
very cool because we get to hang out with a bunch of peers at like this huge hotel on the side of a lake. So and it's in August, so we can go
Hmm.
for a swim.
Nice.
That's nice.
Something to look forward to for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So it sounds like you're going to be very busy. So with that in mind, I'm wondering, do you have a website where you recommend people go to find out about your current and future projects?
I have a portfolio which I keep updated, but it's not the most dynamic thing. It's Boumfolio, so Boumfolio, boumfolio.com. But I have a Patreon, which is actually where I post the most, like work in progress, comic excerpts from my book. I do post snippets here and there on social media, on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, but sometimes like I would post whole pages and that kind of thing on my Patreon. So it's behind a paywall, but it's just $1 a month, so it's not too bad. So I'm Boum on there. So patreon.com/Boum, Boum. So really easy to find. I'm on Twitter, like Facebook and Instagram. But Patreon is usually where I would suggest people go if they want the latest information about everything I do.
Thanks to Boum for the chat. You can discover Boum on Twitter at BOUMERIE and online at BOUMFOLIO, boumfolio.com. And thanks to you for listening to the True North Country Comics podcast. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to and like this podcast on Apple Podcasts. And please leave a good rating. Also check out the TrueNorthCountryComics.com website and follow on Twitter at True North Comics. True North Country Comics is now on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to that video channel. Please send your feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks again for listening, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2022.